Hello, beautiful people. My name is Athol. Welcome back. And today I'm going to talk a little bit about sensitivity and empathy and where those sort of things fall on the scale for me. And the question that's behind that is I was talking to someone yesterday. He said, my wife is really, really sensitive. And if I do anything remotely hurtful or mean or rejecting, whatever, no matter how tiny it is, she reacts super strongly to it. She's really upset. She's really hurt, and she's just really sensitive about it. But if she does any of that stuff to me, and I get hurt or I get upset, she completely shuts down, shows me no sense of sympathy, and actually seems a little bit angry and annoyed. And I'm meant to just suck it up and not care about it and not react. So, how can she be so sensitive about her emotional state, but really insensitive about my emotional state? What gives? Why how do they go together? So what I want you to think of is there's a very long continuum, and the whole continuum is just labeled being sensitive. And at one end, the focus is all on themselves, and this is where they're not in a really great place mentally, emotionally, personally, whatever it is. This is them being the bad version of themselves. And at the other end, that focus of the sensitivity can now start being on other people. And this is when they're happy, content, they've had a lot of personal growth, and they're able to manage the emotions a whole lot more. And it's just really a much better place for them. So the whole continuum, their personality type is still sensitive, but down one end, the focus becomes on themselves, and down the other end, they have the ability to focus on other people. So when they're able to only focus on themselves, when you get hurt or upset or whatever it is, they still are sensitive to it. They read it in you, they experience it, they notice it, and because you feel bad, you feel upset, you feel hurt, and they're reading that. Now they feel bad, they feel hurt, they feel upset, and their brain starts spinning as to what does this all mean, and they can feel anxious about the state of the relationship, and they can be flooded with their own emotions. And that's more than enough for them to handle. In fact, it can be too much for them to handle. And they get caught up in trying to focus on themselves and juggle this and manage that, that there's just no mental bandwidth. They have no more emotional headspace left to care about your emotional state at all, because they're being flooded with theirs. And that's even if they're the one that did the crappy thing that made you feel bad. Now you feel bad, so they feel bad, and you're the one that made them feel bad. So go away, leave me alone, stop crying, do blah, 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 blah. And if you're the person that's with them, you're like, but you were the person that did it to me. Where's my sympathy? Where's my apology? Where's my warm hug and I love you? Where's any of this? Like right at the moment I need reassurance and comfort, you're just shutting down like a brick wall just comes between us, and I'm left out in the cold, and it's all about you and your mental headspace. That's because on the sensitivity continuum, they're totally focused on themselves because they're in a bad place emotionally, mentally, where their life is. They haven't worked through all their childhood stuff or whatever it is. That's where they are. At the other end, when they have the ability to focus on other people because they're in this good place, when you get hurt, you get upset, they still feel that, they still sense that, they still read that, but they make it a whole lot less about them. They're in far better control, and they have the mental bandwidth, the emotional bandwidth to be able to react and connect and comfort you or whatever it is. Because they're not being flooded themselves because you're having an emotional state. It's the same sort of personality trait. It's just in a really different place of mental health, basically. And in fact, when they're in that really, really good place, that emotional sensitivity and empathy can read people and social situations so much better than people who aren't sensitive. They have just such a finer sense of control and reading, and it's like their emotional radar goes out, just dozens of meters further than yours, where they can walk into a room and pick up who's sad, who's hurt, who's upset, who's mad, just instantly, and other people are not necessarily reading it. It can almost be sort of a precognitive level of what's going to happen and who and why and how. But that's within that really, really good place. Somewhere in the middle, it's uneven. Sometimes the focus is on themselves as they get flooded. Other times they have enough mental bandwidth to focus on other people. And it can sort of swing backwards and forwards. And in fact, it's in that middle zone that I think you see a lot of people, most particularly women, announcing that they are empaths. And the truth is, the ones that are in a really great place emotionally and mentally, who are truly, empathetic, are the true empaths reading the world. They don't usually announce themselves as empaths. They just are. They actually sort of experience that as being somewhat pretentious or whatever. But the ones in the middle are on that journey, on that process of learning how to manage everything, learning how to control everything. And at the very, very least, they've started to recognize that they are sensitive, that they are somewhere on the sensitivity continuum. And they kind of sort of know that down the not so great end, they turn into really horrible people to be with, and they're aspiring to be down the good end where they're really good people to be with. And this is where they're trying to manage and learn and grow things for themselves. So they're recognizing they're sensitive. They recognize that they're finely tuned. And rather than saying they're overreacting drama queens that unsalvageable, they're trying to frame it in a good way as something to aspire to. So that is pretty much it. And the other way of thinking about all this stuff, if you have read about the Enneagram personality typing system, a lot of what I'm talking about here is just Enneagram Type 4. That is the sensitive, introverted, temperamental, moody types that can, just are super sensitive. 4's in a really bad place. The focus is totally on themselves. 4's in a really good place. The focus can move to other people, but it's all about sensitivity and, high emotions, basically. So that is about it. Hope that was helpful, and I will talk to you soon.